Hey there, welcome. My name is Jessica Buchanan, and I'm a New York Times bestselling author, professional speaker, and founder of Soul Speak Press, a non-traditional publishing company created for women who've been through something, now they know something, and they can teach us something. In Her Words is a podcast designed to support aspiring memoir authors on their writing and publishing journey. It's hard work, this writing and publishing stuff, and I want to empower you with encouragement and information so you can keep sharing your truth. So grab your coffee, your notebook, find a quiet space, and let's dive in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of In Her Words. This is a podcast for women who are ready to speak their truth, write their story, and inspire the world. I am the founder of Soul Speak Press. I am Jess Buchanan, your host. And Soul Speak Press is a boutique, non-traditional publishing house for women who have been through something, now they know something, and now they want to teach us something. So welcome. So glad that you have taken a few minutes to come over here and join me. Today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things that we do over here at Soul Speak Press, and that is our anthology projects. So if you are familiar with Soul Speak or with me, and if you are a part of my community or have been following me for a little while, you are probably familiar with what you can see in the background here, if you're watching this on YouTube, is the Deserts to Mountaintops anthologies. And to date, we have 2 volumes that have been published. We are currently working on filling the 3rd, and we're going to be starting our work together in May for a published date of January 2025. And I just kind of wanted to share the heart behind these anthologies and also just break it down a little bit, explain how it works, and also give you 5 reasons why, if you are a first-time writer in terms of you've never been published before, this might be a good opportunity for you to consider as you begin pursuing different paths and different avenues into memoir writing. Okay, so let me give you a little background on, and I think maybe I've talked about this a little bit in a past episode, but let me give you the background on how Deserts to Mountaintops was born. The title came to me a long time ago. I come from a pretty long line of hikers. My dad is an avid hiker. He lives in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I think hiking, well, I know one time he said several years ago, we had lost my mom very suddenly back in 2010. She was just sick with the flu, and then she was gone, and it just rocked all of us to our core. And shortly after about a year after she died, my dad moved to a new place in the Blue Ridge Mountains where he currently lives. And he worked through his grief hiking. He would just go out to the mountains, and he's a solitary kind of guy. He spends a lot of time alone. He's very comfortable by himself with himself, and a quiet guy. And I think that he just hiked mile after mile after mile and worked through a lot of his grief that way. And so when I came back post rescue, and I was pregnant with my first child, my son August, and there was so much grief. There was so much turmoil, PTSD. There was just so much going on in me. And we had landed in Alexandria, outside of Washington, D.C. But we would go down to my dad's, who was 3 hours south, a lot, and just hike. And that became such a source of comfort for me. It became such an outlet and such a refuge. And so we just hiked all the time, and we would strap our baby in a backpack, and then we had a second one, and we'd strap her in a backpack, and we just hiked. This became our family thing. And I don't even remember what hike we were on, what mountain we were on, what we were doing, but I just always have so many metaphors and parallels when I'm hiking in terms of the healing journey. And you just stop when you're tired and rest, but you got to keep going back up because no one's gonna get to the mountaintop for you. And I was just I'm a writer, so I'm always thinking in terms of metaphors. And this idea of like climbing out of the desert, like clawing my way out of the desert to the mountaintop of my healing as I continue to heal and to recover from my trauma and from PTSD, just kind of took root in my heart. And I knew that I was going to write another book, and it was going to be called Deserts to Mountaintops. Okay. So fast forward several years, I have a contract for a second book with the publisher that had published my first book, Impossible Odds, which became a New York Times bestseller. And I didn't have a really big social media reach because I hadn't been working on it that hard. I think like poo-pooed it in a way, and we'll talk about that. I have a whole list of things I can't wait to talk to you all about as authors. Social media is one of them. But and while Impossible Odds had done really well, there are a variety of reasons why it fell off the New York Times bestseller list, including the fact that the publisher didn't print enough books and it sold out. So that is another story for another day. I still hadn't really earned out my advance. And I think that was part of it. But I sent them this really, I thought, well-crafted proposal. I've done a couple of proposals, worked with people on their proposals. And they got right back to me and said, how much they loved my story, but they felt like this proposal, this Deserts to Mountaintops, which was more of like a memoir based on surviving survival and the recovery in the aftermath of trauma and what that has been like for me and how do you rebuild a life. And they thought it was too similar to what I had done before. So of course I didn't agree. And then I've said it, told you the story in another episode where I was so happy that they released me from my contract because that meant I could start my own thing. And that's when Soul Speak Press was born. So I'm like get my imprint set up with Memoir Publishing. I'm moving along and I'm writing. And then all of a sudden I get like halfway through the manuscript and I think, I don't think the world needs another memoir from Jessica Buchanan. What has been so pivotal in my healing journey has been the community that I have built along the way and the women that have come alongside me and loved me and befriended me and supported me and just held my hand and held space with me and drank wine with me. Like that has been one of the most, outside of my family, my husband, and therapy, of course, but like the friendships, the women that I have connected with have been some of the most important components of my healing journey. And then I started thinking like, deserts to mountaintops. Yes, that's very like literal for me, but it's like a pretty good metaphor for all of us who are trying to recover from trauma. And like, I don't know one woman who hasn't needed to at some point be faced with the decision of whether or not to abandon herself repeatedly or save herself and reclaim her voice. So I started thinking about, what if I brought in other voices? And of course, there's a way to do that where you can just do it and you're doing all of the work and you're sharing the stories and the writing. And that didn't set right with me. That didn't feel like a good fit for me. I love community. I'm a teacher by profession. And so I love that teaching component. I've been doing this for 12 years. At the time, it was 11 years. And I wanted there to be some sort of coaching component to this. And so I decided to turn the memoir Deserts to Mountaintops into an anthology. And so then I was faced with, okay, well, I've made this decision. Now, how am I going to do this? Like I had a great network of women who supported me and loved me and would read the book, but not necessarily who were going to sign up to work with me. But it turns out I did. I had all of these lovely women in my network or who were friends of friends who had always wanted to write something but felt overwhelmed by the possibility or the work in front of them of writing their own memoir. And this felt like a good fit for them because the investment was pretty minimal. I did take an investment, which we'll talk about in a minute. And they trusted me to like lead them through this process because I was already a published author. And so, I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I mean, does anybody ever know what they were doing? And I was very upfront and transparent about that. I don't really know what I'm doing. So we're all learning here together. But I had 23 women sign up. One chapter was written by a group of three, the Mystic Chicks. Shout out to them. And it was the most phenomenal experience. We took about 8 months and we just cracked through it. And we put together group coaching sessions about memoir writing and how to launch a book. We put together book ambassador teams, how to promote a book, how to network. It ended up being like part therapy, part book coaching, writing coaching, PR coaching, like all of it. It was just like the most magnificent bonding experience. It was transformational. And then when it came time for the book to come out, because there were so many of us promoting this one project, we hit, I believe, bestseller status on Amazon in 14 categories, which is unbelievable. Like, there's the nitty gritty and the logistics around registering your book when you're getting ready to publish in terms of genres and categories that you want to be considered and ranked in. And the algorithm has gotten much tighter now than it was back then, but that's why we were able to hit 14 categories. But it was phenomenal. And I was like, oh my God, I want to do this again. So then the second one was a little bit harder to fill up. I think a lot of it had to do with the theme and what we were talking about, but we did. And that published January 2024, and we hit bestseller status in 4 categories, and the book has done really well. So, and again, it was a different feeling and a different experience because it was a completely different group of women and it was a completely different theme that we were talking about. The content was very different, but still the end product is amazing. The women have just bonded. We have a WhatsApp group and we're on it every day. Everybody's sharing resources and ideas and sharing wins and cheering each other on. And it's just like phenomenal and exciting. And so here are 4 reasons, five reasons why I think you should consider joining an anthology. It doesn't have to be ours. We would love for it to be experience before you set out on writing your own memoir. Okay, so the first one is you get to dip your toes into the whole writing, editing, reviewing, peer review, publishing, book promotion process without having to put all of the time and the effort and the money forward to do it on your own. Okay. So there's a lot to be said for taking courses and learning how to do something before you branch out and do it on your own. We like to consider our anthology experiences a masterclass in memoir writing. We take you through several memoir writing workshops together as a group. I do one-on-one coaching with every single author. I do all the developmental editing. So I'm working back and forth with each author and doing the editing. We have group coaching sessions we have my lawyer come in and talk about how to write memoir without committing defamation and libel. We have Lauren, who's my counterpart at Soul Speak Press, whose background is in marketing. She creates assets that our authors can share on social media. We have a production team come in from Philadelphia and spend all day filming with us, and then they create a beautiful book trailer that can be shared. We help you assemble book ambassador teams and give you copy. We give you sales sheets. We like do all the back end. Our publisher does all the back end work in terms of getting the ISBN number so that the books can be ordered from any bookstore in the world. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of work that goes into this and what we produce. So if you are considering writing your story, or maybe you like halfway written your memoir, or maybe you're finished and you're in the editing process, but you're feeling like you don't know what's next, and you're not sure you have the time or the resources or the bandwidth to invest either in shopping around with an agent or investing in a hybrid model, consider joining an anthology experience so you get exposure to the whole process and then see how you feel after that and what you need. The second reason why I think you should join an anthology is you just get so much support. I have a whole team here. Lauren, Ilsa, our copy editor. We have Caroline, who's our copy editor. We have Mika, who does proofreading and a bunch of other stuff for social media. We have a whole team of women here who are ready to serve you. We've done this. We know how the cycle works. We know what works, what doesn't work. You can bounce ideas off of us. And then you're getting coached, writing coaching by a New York Times best-selling author who's always going to be a best-selling author and keeps doing it. So I'm like available to you for like the end of all time. My authors still come back and ask me questions. They send me emails and say, what do you think about this? Like we are enter into this, like this bond, this relationship, we're together in this book. We're earning royalties together. Like we're sort of in business together, but it's this sacred partnership. The third reason, community. Community is everything, right? Have you ever heard that phrase? Your network is your net worth. Well, in this case, I really do think that your community is the make or break. Writing is really lonely. It's especially when you're writing memoir, especially when you're writing about things that have been really hard that have happened to you in your life, and doing it with a cohort of women who get it, who understand it because they're doing the same thing, is really such a gift to yourself and will only promote your success. It will only make your success more likely. 97% of potential authors who start writing a book never finish it. Never finish it. So, if you are a part of an anthology, we're all responsible to each other. We have to get it done. If you don't get your chapter done, you get pulled. And I have never had that happen. So you're in the top 3% of people who've started a book if you join an anthology and we get each other across the finish line. Okay. Fourth reason, cross promotion. Everybody hates promoting themselves except for me. I don't really have a problem with it. I think I'm just desensitized because I have to do it all the time. But here's the deal. When you're working with 20 other authors, promotion doesn't feel so icky. Talking about yourself and your project isn't so gross because you're not talking about yourself. You're talking about everybody else who's a part of this project. You are cheering them on. You are applauding them. You are just like promoting the crap out of each other with each other's networks. Not to mention the fact that you're like multiplying your network by 20 times because everybody's talking to their people and everybody's going to be reading your story. I mean, think about the reach that these books get. If you really want to get your story into people's hands because you want there to be healing and transformation available to them, this is definitely a thing for you to consider. Okay, fifth reason before I hop off here, it's a fraction of the cost. Okay. And we space out the royalties. We sparse out the royalties to each author. We split them up. It's not a lot of money because there are a lot of authors, but, if you go all in a hybrid model or a non-traditional model and you're publishing a really good, well-crafted manuscript that you've invested in developmental and copy editing support, and not to mention the publishing and the interior design and the book cover and the marketing and all of the things that you get. I mean, you're looking at like a $20,000 investment at least. Working on an anthology is a fraction of that money. So, okay, real quick. Experience, dip your toes in, number 1. 2, support, coaching support. You're going to learn a lot. 3, community is everything. 4, cross promotion, take the ick out of talking about yourself. And then 5, save money and learn a whole lot. Okay. So regardless of whether or not you decide to join an anthology or our anthologies, I hope above all else that you keep writing, that you share your story, you speak your truth, you write about it, and you continue to inspire the world. In Her Words is hosted by me, Jessica Buchanan, and is produced by Soul Speak Press, a non-traditional publishing house for women who are ready to tell their story. If you would like to know more about our submission process, I encourage you to check us out at www.soulspeakpress.com or follow us over on Instagram at soulspeakpress. We appreciate all your questions, and if you would like to leave us a review, we would be so grateful.